Now, I really wanted to just give a quick introduction. I've done some of these with LTC before. EdPuzzle is a proud partner with LTC, but I always like to give a little introduction of who I am. So my name is Courtney Warren. I work with school partnerships with EdPuzzle, and I handle the whole state of Illinois. I'm also a local native myself, so I'm really excited to see some local natives here from Illinois and even people from out of state. This is going to be a lot of fun. To go over what we're going to be reviewing today, I have a breakdown chart right here. So for our engaging students with EdPuzzle, we'll be reviewing why we should be using EdPuzzle, any new EdPuzzle features that are going to be supporting that engagement, locating that content within EdPuzzle, and then those specific ways that we can be engaging our students. Now, as we go through this presentation, which will be available to you after, you're going to notice some slides that I'll skip over. These are instructional slides that are meant for you to use later and have ease of use when navigating EdPuzzle. Since we're all at a little bit of a different EdPuzzle level, we are going to start off just with that overview so that we're all on the same page as we explore. Now, I'd really like to start off just by seeing where everybody's at and how they're utilizing video lessons in the classroom. So I'm going to put on a 2-minute timer here, and I would love for you to drop into the chat about how you're using video lessons and what that looks like for you. Wonderful. I really appreciate everybody who responded in the chat. It seems like a lot of people are just trying to figure out how to create more engagement in that classroom, which this is going to be a great session for you to watch. So I'm really glad that you were able to connect here today. Some great ideas will be shared, different features you can utilize, and I'm all about giving examples about how to immediately implement EdPuzzle so that you don't have to recreate the wheel. So let's just start overall with kind of identifying EdPuzzle. So with EdPuzzle itself, I know a lot of people with a basic idea of it will think of it as just a basic video platform, but it is so much more. It's a complete video solution. And when I say that, there's so much more that we're going to explore about the capabilities of EdPuzzle that most people don't even realize, even when they have EdPuzzle. So let's just start off with what it is. Obviously, it's that ability to make any video into a lesson. Starting with that video, incorporating notes, embedded links, polls, questions, images, and then being able to assign and track that student progress. Now, with EdPuzzle, exactly that, you're able to display this video and track that comprehension, but there are so many different components within it to break it down and introduce into your instruction that will really change the interaction your students are having with you, and also even allow them to take ownership of lessons as we move forward. So real quick, we talk about that selection, we talk about videos, and we're obviously focused on that video lesson component. Well, with EdPuzzle, what does that selection look like? Well, I'm going to share with you. So that selection is going to look like the ability to be able to not only pull your normal YouTube videos, but be able to have access to ready-to-use, standard-aligned EdPuzzle original content. So that means you're going to be able to pull content that's already question embedded, that aligns with Illinois state standards and is ready to use. But maybe YouTube and that, they don't really fit that particular unit or subject need. Well, you can explore our discovery where you'll find different content from other EdPuzzlers throughout the US. So yes, other teachers that are creating lessons, and they're available within our giant EdPuzzle lesson library. Now, after looking through all those 3 options, you still realize that that option isn't available. It's not the video that you need. Well, the best part about EdPuzzle is you can make it your own. You can create and record. You can find a bit of another video and present and record it so it's more customized and tailored to your classroom. So with EdPuzzle, you have a variety of selection available, most of it already ready to go. Now, I always get that question of, okay, well, it's videos and you can edit them and you can do it, but like, why am I using it? Why is that important? Well, for me, it's a couple things. I like it because there's an easy and powerful component behind it. And as we know, being in the classroom, you need it to be easy to use. You need it to be easy to use for you, and you need it to be easy to use for your class. That's the only way that they're going to really want to engage and participate with it. The powerful component comes to what we cover. EdPuzzle isn't just some primary or secondary school option. This encompasses everything, K through 12, even internally there for your PD. And most importantly, it covers a wide range of subjects, whatever you need it to be. So again, those 2 key components of why are because it's easy and it's powerful. Now, you're also going to be able to take EdPuzzle and really transform the interaction in your classroom. You could do anything from a video to active learning, to doing live steps and having actual real group discussions, all with the power of EdPuzzle. This is also going to hold your students accountable for completing these lessons and answering the questions, which is really important to determining that engagement and that comprehension overall. Now, one of my favorite parts of EdPuzzle and why I support this approach is because overall, it supports an individual approach to learning. By being able to alter any of these videos, whether it's the YouTube component, something somebody else has created, or maybe something of your own or our originals, you're able to tailor every part of that to fit your classroom needs. Heck, you can even use EdPuzzle to determine everybody's comprehension level and then design projects based on those groupings. So we'll jump into that a little bit further as we talk about those supporting features. Overall, I want you to know the engagement components of EdPuzzle. Again, being able to diversify response for students, whether that's audio, multiple choice, or even an open-ended question. Replacing that direct instruction and being able to provide an actual avenue that's different, being able to mix up that normal instruction day with, say, a video or an interactive component that they can also watch and replace back. Students being able to create their own lessons, taking ownership of the classroom and being able to teach others. Or learning targets being introduced, a more flipped classroom approach where you're providing them content, at the end of that school day so that the next day when they come in to learn this new content, they already have that background knowledge. We can start engaging in the classroom and having real great conversations. And then, of course, walking through live steps has to be one of my favorite ways to engage, whether it's doing an experiment or even something for PE and actually doing some form of yoga and stretching. There are so many different ways that you can add steps into the video and help your students learn along the way. Now, with all this, before we jump into those components, I do like to always make it aware that you're able to track the progress and gauge the comprehension of all the assignments that you share with your students. So all those video lessons that we're going to learn about creating and customizing and sharing, you have the ability to track student progress with that in real time. So that means when you decide to give out an assignment, that very moment you can go to that assignment and be able to tell who started it, who hasn't, how far they're in on it, how much time they've spent, and really be able to gauge that comprehension in live time, as well as being able to refer back to it at any point. Now, this is going to be a fun component, and I'm really excited to share. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this link into the chat. This is our EdPuzzle link, and I want you guys to take the next 2 minutes, because that's how easy and that's how quick it is to set up your own EdPuzzle account. It's as simple as clicking that link, signing up as a teacher, syncing your account, and answering just a few basic questions as listed here. So I'm going to give everybody just this 2-minute time period to go on and create an EdPuzzle account. So by the time you get started after this presentation, you're ready to go with EdPuzzle. Wonderful. I hope everybody had the chance to quickly just make their own EdPuzzle account. As you can see, it's a very quick process, but now when you're done with this presentation, you're automatically set up and ready to use EdPuzzle, search and explore its content, and utilize it with your classroom. Now, this is a part you've probably all been waiting for, that engagement piece. How do I actually use this resource in my classroom? What does that look like, and how can I apply it? Well, I'm here to help with that. So to help with that, we're just going to kind of go over a variety of different options and ways that you can incorporate EdPuzzle to diversify that instruction and create more engagement and gain the interest of your students. So just to give a view of what that's going to look like, you're going to be looking over our live mode, student projects, screen recording, our EdPuzzle Originals, station rotations, and social emotional learning support. As we dive into each, you'll get some examples, but feel free to drop any questions into the chat if you'd like to have, deeper conversations about any of it, or feel free to hold your questions till the end. Now, our live mode has to be one of my favorite functions for engagement specifically with EdPuzzle. This is a way for you as a teacher to be able to present live to your class while having your students engage with that presentation more meaningfully. And what that means is that they're going to be able to respond to questions that are being conducted through the presentation in real time, and you'll be able to acknowledge and track that content as they answer, again, in real time. So what does this really look like? This looks like you presenting to your students face to face. You're presenting, a video or a certain part of a lesson, and as that question pops up, it's going to direct your student to look at their individual device and answer that question. Once all the questions, have been submitted, the teacher in that moment in time could go through those answers right then and there, helping them determine maybe the comprehension level, or, maybe a couple kids got stuff wrong. Maybe we need to kind of go back a little bit and re-review. But this is giving you the power to assess your classroom in live time during the presentation. This is also giving your students that privacy of response, making them genuine and honest, meaning that you're going to be able to help them to the best of their ability. By being able to present in live time and them answer, you're also helping to control the pace in which you're sharing this lesson. So you may find out a couple questions in that your class is just knocking it out. They are so advanced. Maybe you can kind of pick up the pace and make this go quicker, and maybe your next lesson can be generated towards that. Or maybe you find out, like I said, there are those trouble areas and you may need to slow this down. You may need to go back, or we may even need to open a book again just to reassess everything and make sure we have everybody on the same page as we move along through the lesson. But one of the nice things is all these live modes can also be accessed independently by your students. So even though you can assign this live mode and do it in class, it's still accessible to them later on at home, or at another point in time they'd like to look back. Now, to give you guys some ideas, because I never want anybody leaving here going, I got these features, but how do I, immediately implement them? Like, you don't want to recreate the wheel. You just want to get going with it. Well, here are some options for you. One, watch a read aloud. Have a read aloud playing on the class, be able to walk around and ask students questions as it's going, being able to assess and see everybody's comprehension while they're engaged with a read aloud in live time. As those questions drop in, you can formulate discussions and really pick up on where everybody's at. Maybe you decide you want to change it up for a day and you've been stuck in the classroom too long and you want to go on a field trip. But we can't always afford it. Let's do a virtual field trip. Let's change the dynamic of this classroom. I know some teachers that have done things like the Chicago Art Museum had a virtual tour. So they took their class through it. Fun little ideas would be like an escape room with your class as well. There are so many different ideas to pull from, and I'll give you some more later on our Padlet. Other great options for live mode would be the most classic and fun, which is hosting an experiment. Being able to have an experiment being presented in live time with your teachers. And then as the questions are dropped, they're actually doing the experiment in live time. These questions are instructing them and the video is supporting them, and you're all able to do it together in the class. Again, really changing it, but also making sure that each step is completed accurately. Some great introductions and endings for live mode is warming up your class. Again, gauging that comprehension. Maybe you start up with a quick presentation and it's an overview on what you're going to be learning. There are questions embedded in there for them to answer about what they know, or, if they're familiar with, and it gives you that ability to gauge that comprehension and interact before actually going into that unit to be able to curate that lesson for them. Same thing with closing out. You could review a lesson in class and then end with an EdPuzzle that kind of reconfirms everything that you were talking about and drop some questions in. Let's make sure that they're comprehending. And in real time, let's address those if they aren't. One of the last ones here, that's one of my personal favorites, is review a lesson that a student completed as homework. And this will bring us to one of our next features for student projects. But this is the ability, again, for your student to kind of change up and take ownership of that classroom and be able to teach and expand that knowledge to their fellow students. This is as simple as assigning a student project, having them complete it, and allowing them to do it in live time in front of the class, where the class can then interact with that student as a teacher. Now, getting the idea of live mode is great, but I always like to provide an actual visible presentation of it. So this is just a view of what your student view and your teacher view is going to look like. That means your teacher is going to be able to present on a whiteboard, projector, or smartboard that they're using. The student will have a blank screen until a question is presented, which will prompt them to answer. Upon those answers being submitted, again, the teacher will collect that data and continue through the presentation. This is just, again, a quick overview of what that visually looks like. Now on to the student projects that I've brought up so many times, but you're probably wondering what that is. So student projects are a way, again, for your student to take agency of this work and be able to really stand out, change that learning experience. What you're allowing the student to do is be able to create their own lesson, bed their own questions and notes, and share it back with you. Heck, as the teacher, you can allow them to actually share that lesson live, or you can share their lesson with the class. This is creating a real authentic learning experience, and you're really able to broaden that interaction scope and that engagement with those students, not just between you and them, but them individually with one another. Now, some ideas that you can do for, say, a student project are a couple things. One of my favorites is to demonstrate a math problem. The reason being, sometimes you find out your students just have different ways of getting to the same answer, especially with math. This would be a great thing to share with your students, especially ones getting to different answers. Maybe you put out an assignment and you have your student explain how they got to those answers. When you locate a couple students that are doing it differently, assign them a student project. Ask them to share, ask them to show how they broke down that process, and then let them share with the class the next day. Let them demonstrate different methods that their peers are also utilizing. This is a great building block, and it's a great way, again, to keep that attention and interest amongst your students. Recording an experiment and explaining the findings. You could be assigning a student project to your students to go home with, creating, an easy experiment that they could try to share with the class and embedding their own questions or maybe different steps along the way. Have them submit it, and then maybe you pick one and you do one live in class and allow that student to direct it. Other things would be like analyzing a poem, including their own meter and rhyme, or even doing something as fun as preparing their own TED Talks and sharing those with the class. Those are great for sparking group discussions and being able to have, real inquisitive questions be asked. Now, this is one of those slides I represented at the beginning. These are the steps in how you would assign a student project. I'll leave these in here for you all to look over after the presentation. The nice thing about our student projects, though, that I will put on there is that, like all of our assignments, they automatically get graded and sent to our grade book. But with student projects, it's different. It won't automatically get sent to the grade book. Now, you can add it to the grade book, but we actually support you to do that, manually of your choice, just because these are student-created projects and depending on, your rubric and your curriculum. Now, one feature I want to go really in depth about that's really going to be a game changer for how you're able to engage your students is our screen recording extension. Now, this extension, it may not seem big as far as the idea of engagement, but it's the core driver for engagement. With our screen recording Chrome extension, one, it's free. It's something easy to download. It takes less than 2 minutes, and it gives you capabilities of the most advanced tools. I think we can all agree that when you're utilizing components to structuralize and change everything that's within these videos, you really want the best quality resources and tools. These tools are going to help you clean up the video, make it prettier to look at, ensure that you get the right content in there, and make sure you're incorporating components that will catch your students and engage them. So our new screen recording extension here has been upgraded. With it being extended into our Chrome extension, you'll be able to record your tab, the entire desktop, utilize a webcam, or use a personal whiteboard, which is great for those math problems. Not just that, but when you go to start your recording, we have added a new countdown timer. It goes 1, 2, 3, and then it starts recording, giving you that little bit of time to be able to prep. And during that recording, you now have the option of a drawing tool to utilize and help focus and guide that instruction as you record your session and your lesson for these students. Now, once you're done recording with our integrated screen recorder, it will bring it into EdPuzzle for you. That's where you're able to really make the magic happen with some of our video editing tools. That would be like the ability to trim a video, the ability to use a voiceover and add notes and questions. Now, these may seem simple to you, but they're so much better than that. Our trim video is not just trimming the beginning or end. You have the ability to trim it at any point. That means I could trim it in the middle. I could trim it anywhere along the way. I could add 5, 10 different trims in as long as it suits my need and the content that I need is available. Using a voiceover is just the same. Maybe you find a video, you've cut it down, it has everything you need, but you get to this one part where you love the video, but you just don't like what's being said. Use our voiceover function. Record over that. Lay in the information that you know your students will find important and that will guide them to success. And then lastly, you'll be given the option to actually add notes and questions, but it doesn't just end there. You're able to embed links into there and different images. Heck, your students can even answer questions with images if you want. This is a great way to not only capture that engagement, gauge that comprehension, but also allow your students the ability to have their own voice in answering. Now you can see how important the screen recording tool is. It's really just that main tool to create engaging content, but it's so easy to use and it's available to you with EdPuzzle the minute you start. So just to give everybody advantage with their new EdPuzzle account, I'm going to drop the Chrome extension download into the chat now. This literally will take you less than 2 minutes to do. Once you click on this link, it will just prompt you to the page to add to Chrome, and then it will download and install on its own. I'll give everybody 2 minutes to take part in being able to download that extension. Let me know if there are any issues in the chat. Wonderful. I'm glad some of you found it so easy. Like I said, it should be no more than a 1 to 2 minute process to download that integrated screen recorder to your extension. Now, this panel here I've left in the slide deck for you all. This is to make it more easily accessible. Now that you've downloaded that screen recorder extension, you'll want to pin it there to your Chrome browser. These are just a few steps into help you doing so that it makes it easy and accessible for whenever you're ready to make your video lessons. Now that we've talked about the live mode, the student projects, and even that integrated screen recorder, the ways to kind of create those engagement settings, I really want to provide you another resource that not only is going to support you, but it's also going to support any substitutes that you have maybe temporarily, handling your classroom. And that's our EdPuzzle Originals. And the reason I bring this up when I talk about engagement, because you're talking about ready to use content that is designed by our curriculum specialist team. This is not just any team. This is a team of teachers with experience, teachers with classroom experience that have a lot to share and know what it means to align with these standards. So when they're the ones creating these videos that are sole sourced through us, you know that you can expect academically rigorous videos that are highly entertainable and engaging. So this is ready to use content for you right now. You guys could all go onto your EdPuzzle accounts that you just created, jump into the originals, and already have ready to use content here and ready to go and available in tomorrow's lessons. Not only that, but this is a growing collection. So this is engaging content that's ready for you at your fingertips whenever you need or with whoever's starting their account. And it has embedded questions already available in it. The work is done. But that doesn't mean that you have to accept it as that. If you decide that you want more rigorous questions, or maybe you have to gauge it down to the comprehension level of your class, well, go in and remove some of the questions and go add your own. Include some links and images that are particular to your class's knowledge of the content. Maybe spice it up and make it a little more personable to that class while using our EdPuzzle Originals. That's why these are a great component and piece that you can utilize not just with your class, but also leave with a substitute if you're going to be gone for the day, knowing that they're getting this quality content, even though you're not there in the classroom with them. And again, this is available to you the minute you start. No having to create anything or go looking, just jump into the originals and grab content that works. Now, I know a lot of us are aware of the station rotation model, but EdPuzzle really suits this model the best. And I know as it's gotten more popular and seen success, EdPuzzle can even grow that for you. So let's get some ideas here on what we're talking about. We could use this to determine the comprehension level of our students before even beginning a station rotation. You could share an EdPuzzle at the beginning of class to determine the comprehension level of your students to be better able to diversify them into groups that would be better suited so that you could give different focused attention to these different groups depending on what they need. This also can allow them to create their own response videos in one of these rotations. Maybe this is a feedback portion where they're able to record their own and provide different notes or different images to support their discussion or their ideas. A great idea for one of your stations. Another would be providing guided practice and review, just a simple station to have them involved, maybe a video that you've created, and seeing their retention level through this process. And then, of course, assessment and giving feedback. Maybe you end this station with what they thought, or maybe what they would like to do next time, or things that would interest them more in discussing these topics. Maybe one person decided they really liked the drawing portion of your station rotations where they had to show what they thought was going to happen next in the idea of a picture. Well, this is a great way to do so. Collect that feedback at the end of these station rotations with an EdPuzzle and be able to listen to them and have them for later on. Now, the station rotation, why and how. So I really wanted to kind of put this one at the forefront of your mind because I know a lot of teachers use station rotations a lot. They're always trying to come up with different innovative ideas. We talked about that comprehension piece, being able to provide a lesson at the beginning of a class to determine those levels, being able to break those students up into the proper groups, and then being able to use the remainder of that class time for collaboration. That is one of the most strongest forms of the way EdPuzzle supports that station rotation. Now, why do we also want to use EdPuzzle during those station rotations? Because it provides a diverse way for your students to take on that information, process it, and learn it. And that's all we really want, don't we? We want them to be able to take on information in any format. And by providing them different methods of doing so, we create stronger retention and comprehension. And when they feel like they're comprehending everything that you're providing, you know that they're going to be engaged. You know that they're going to feel successful and want to be involved more. And this also allows your students to keep that interest and be learning that information in new, fun, and engaging ways. Now, this is an additional slide that I wanted to share. I'm not going to go over it too much. This is for you to look at after, but just giving you guys some raw ideas for how to incorporate EdPuzzle into different types of station rotations, ranging from the math, science experiments, assessment review, vocabulary, reading, and writing. I know you'll enjoy some of these, and if you have any feedback yourself, you're always welcome to message me or email me after this presentation and let me know your ideas too. I'd love to share them. Now, something new that I'm really excited to share is just how this engagement piece can support SEL. And not that, SEL support is hard, but sometimes it's hard to figure out how to incorporate it. And this is where EdPuzzle is going to help you out. So maybe try starting a class with a check-in video. I have teachers that do this every morning. They have a quick little video that they assign, takes them 2 minutes to make, just asking their student to share with them what their evening was like, what their morning was like, how they're feeling today, maybe some of their favorite things, what's something new that they learned, something to get out, something more personal, to be able to gauge where your students are at starting the day, and also letting them know that that self-reflection is important. You could use this for SEL support, doing live activities to de-stress. Maybe you have a couple EdPuzzle videos set up that you throw in during your instruction, maybe in the middle, maybe near the end, where you're like, you know what? We've just learned a lot. You guys have been doing great. Let's do a de-stressor. Let's watch an EdPuzzle video and we all do a little yoga. We're going to learn, we're going to stop. It's going to tell you how to do these things. And we're just going to take a minute to really de-stress. They're also wonderful for brain breaks. Maybe after a long lesson, you decide, you know what, you guys deserve a little fun. Let's watch a funny little video. Let's learn how to do something cool and unique with a tutorial, but just break up the monogamy of the common instruction and allow them to have that little bit of fun. Get them that little bit of looser again so they could be taking on information in a more relaxed state. And then one that I've recently added is building their SEL vocabulary. I have a teacher that at the beginning of each week, she talks about a different particular emotion. Last week, the one for her was flustered. She got flustered because all of her papers were all over the place and stuff, and she kept using that word all throughout the week. And then at the end of that week, every Friday, she would drop an EdPuzzle video, and it would be learning about that particular word. And the kids started getting excited about it. They were like, now we got to pay attention to her all week long to see what word that she keeps using, because I bet you that's going to be the video at the end of the week. Not only did she use it for this unique engagement, but she actually got them excited about learning about these words, these emotional words, to explain and articulate how they're feeling. And they got excited about learning something new, and they were engaged with her even more because they're trying to figure out what this word of the week is. So a great thing and a great practice that I really wanted to share with you all today. And then lastly, of course, student projects. Student projects are great. Maybe at the end of each night, you send them home with their own little side project. Just create a 1-minute video about your day and how it went that you wanted to share with somebody. Share with me. I would love to hear how that goes, and let them do that self-reflection at the end of each day and being able to share. Those are just some of the ways that EdPuzzle can really support SEL there in the classroom and even at home in a sense. Now, this is going to be a fun bit, and I will have more information in our next slide, but I wanted to give you this little bit of a YouTube sneak peek. Right now, EdPuzzle is exclusive partners with YouTube. So that means you have the ability to go now to EdPuzzle, or not EdPuzzle, YouTube, sorry. Now that you have an EdPuzzle account, you'll be able to look up a video that you want, and then beneath it, you'll notice this big yellow bar that says Edit with EdPuzzle. I want you to go to YouTube now, click on a video that you want, click edit with EdPuzzle, and see just how easy it is to now pull into your EdPuzzle account. Not only that, but you'll notice something special when you pull it in, which we'll go over right after doing so. So I will drop that YouTube link real quick into the chat. Feel free to find that video you want and pull it into your EdPuzzle account, and then we'll discuss more after the next 2 minutes. Wonderful. I hope you all were able to take advantage of running into YouTube, finding a video that you would like, and then editing it with EdPuzzle by bringing it into EdPuzzle. Now, the big component that I wanted to share, and again, this is a great way to utilize content that may have otherwise been a little more distraction-based in a more safe, secure manner in your classroom. As we know, your students are watching YouTube for everything. And I never let anybody tell me different, whether it's a makeup tutorial or watching somebody do something funny or something that's going viral. We're all utilizing YouTube in some way or capacity. Now, EdPuzzle wants you to be able to utilize it in a secure manner. So what you've just done now is pull a YouTube video into your EdPuzzle account and had it be filtered. And when I say filtered, I'm talking about the distraction-based content. So this means we're removing things like ads, recommendations, embedded links, student tracking, and watermarks, things that your students could easily be distracted by and immediately pull them into something else. Or a teacher, when presenting, sometimes YouTube will sometimes roll you to the next video. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to worry about all these other components that came with it that are heavily distraction-based and sometimes harmful. This will now also allow your teachers to be 100% compliant with COPA and FERPA and gain that security in utilizing YouTube as a resource. Because as we all know, there's a lot of helpful content there on YouTube. We just want to make sure that that's the driving focus when we choose that content, as opposed to the advertisements or inappropriate content that can sometimes follow that. So I'm really excited to announce this exclusive partnership that we have, and hopefully it will continue to grow and support you even better in the future. Now, something I did want to go over to provide options for you all, just because, the learning doesn't end here. There are so many different ways that I haven't even gone over that you can utilize EdPuzzle for engagement. And I want to give you that advantage. And so does the rest of our EdPuzzle crew. So I'm actually going to drop a link to our Padlet for you all to use. I highly suggest you save this page or share it with others, but these are other ways to implement EdPuzzle in your class. As you can see here, there's additional ideas for station rotation, ideas for choice boards, SEL support, projects that you could do with EdPuzzle, my favorite, virtual field trips, and even escape room ideas. There are so many different ideas that we've collected from our fellow EdPuzzlers and ourselves, and we always are adding and sharing to this Padlet. So definitely click on it, explore more ways, and know we're here to support you. When you open EdPuzzle and you utilize EdPuzzle, we want you to feel like it's ready to use and you're ready to go from the start. So whatever we could provide to give you the best running start, that's what we're doing. Now, sorry about that. Now, I will say, as far as other ideas for implementation, if you guys do have any additional feedback, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to share with me. But other than that, you're always welcome to send me an email if you need somebody to collaborate with further. Now, I will leave this portion open just for any, questions or answers to be provided. So feel free to, take yourself off mic and ask me any questions. I'm here to help you guys. Well, no problem at all. I'm just going to lightly go through these last 2 slides because they're real quick. These are informative slides that will be available after the presentation. These are things like our Getting Started playlist that you can watch with EdPuzzle if you want a little more hands-on support on those task-to-task or step-by-step options. We also have training courses available with our online PD. 15 different certified courses right now. These provide badge and certificate upon completion, and a lot of them align with certain LMSs. Our resource webinar is exactly what it is. It's just additional resources and upcoming webinars we'll be hosting. Our help center is for any technical issues. You'll see in the upper right-hand corner here, there's our EdPuzzle live events. These are conducted monthly. You're welcome to join, and they do count as PD credits as well. The last couple links are just for you personally, like our EdPuzzle Twitter to follow for more ideas. And then, of course, another copy of that Chrome extension, just in case you didn't get it from the chat. But other than that, my contact information is always available to you all. If you have questions or would like to collaborate one-on-one, email me, send me a call. My hours are probably the same as yours. So I look forward to connecting with you hopefully in the upcoming days and weeks.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will drop a link to Courtney's slide presentation that will have all those clickable links in the video description on the YouTube channel, where you can find this and other recorded webinars to help with your just-in-time professional learning.